selectman or town man, whatever.
Could we all please rise?
You know Matt, right?
Thank you. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in this decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. We'll now do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzi.
Here.
Counsel Noon.
Here.
Mayor Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Cirillo.
Here.
Counsel Conway.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
9 present.
I believe we have a moment of silence. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Mary Margaret Jeffroy, who lived life to be 100 years old. Mary had a wonderful marriage of 42 years with her husband, Raymond Jeffroy, and together they raised 4 loving children. Her husband, Ray, passed away in 1983. Mary was educated at the Sacred Heart Grammar School and was a graduate of Lowell High School with the class of 1936. Mary was employed for over 32 years with Demoulas Market Basket in Chelmsford. She was a longtime member of Mount Pleasant Golf Club and a past president of the Women's Golf League. She will be deeply missed by her 4 children, Marilyn McLaughlin, Brenda Costello, Jill Jeffroy, and Jack Jeffroy, her 6 beloved grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. We offer our condolences to her family, relatives, and many friends. She will be truly missed. I'd like to also offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for my dear friend Michael G. Damaris, a lifelong resident of Lowell, beloved husband of Patricia Damaris, with whom he shared 39 years of marriage. Michael was a graduate of Lowell High School and UMass Lowell, earning a bachelor's degree in political science. Last year, Michael retired as the coordinator of neighborhood services after serving the city of Lowell for 45 years. Throughout his career, he worked in several departments for the city, including the DPW Water Division, DPD, and the Human Service Department. In addition to his long public service career, he was actively involved in numerous community organizations and boards dedicated to improving Lowell and life for its residents of Lowell. He served in the board of directors of the Lowell Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union, Lowell Telecommunication Corporation, Residents First Development Corporation, and the Lowell Hunger Homeless Commission. He was elected and served as president of the Lowell Credit Union and AFSCME Local 1705 for many years. Michael's involvement and love of politics began at a young age when he volunteered to work on campaigns, which is where I first met him many, many years ago. He was a lifelong Democrat who worked on local and state campaigns, supporting countless candidates. Michael was one of the founding members in 1988 of GLAD, the Greater Lowell Area Democrats, and was elected first Middlesex Democratic State Committeeman for 27 years. He was a delegate to the Massachusetts Democratic State Convention since 1985. He was awarded the Distinguished Democrat Award in 2002. In addition to his wife, Patricia, he leaves his 2 sons, Michael P. Damaris and Christopher G. Damaris, 2 brothers, Mark Damaris and attorney Matthew Damaris. We offer our sincere sorrow to his family, his brother, attorney Matthew, along with Matthew's son, who is Michael's nephew. Steve is here in the audience, along with Greg Pappas, his dear friend from Dracut. We offer our sincere sorrow to his family and relatives and his many friends. He will be truly missed. He was quite a gentleman. All the neighborhood group leaders will truly miss him. He was a credit to this city, being the link between the neighborhoods and the city right here at City Hall. He was only retired for less than 2 weeks when he took sick, and he was in a coma ever since. I can't even begin to tell you how sorry we all are to his family and friends. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in Darkened Chamber to all those who have passed away since our last council meeting. May they all rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
I also wanted to offer my condolences on behalf of Michael Damaris. I worked with him for a number of years at Planning and Development. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence for John F. Meehan, Jr. John passed away recently this Friday at the age of 66. He was born in Lowell and married to, he was born in Lowell to John and Shirley Crowell Meehan. He is survived by his wife for 35 years, Carol Shagru Meehan. John proudly served in the United States Air Force. He attended Lowell Public Schools, and he graduated from Lowell High School in 1971. John also got his bachelor's degree in accounting and master's in finance degrees at UMass Lowell. Due to his resilient nature, his terminal diagnosis didn't stop him from taking a much-desired trip to Ireland, spending St. Patrick's Day in Georgia, and before his passing, John was able to enjoy the New England Patriots win their 6th Super Bowl. He's survived by his children, John and Chrissy Meehan, Patrick and Jan Meehan, Emma Meehan of Tingsboro, Carly and Kelly Meehan of Dracut. His last marathon was his battle with cancer. He leaves behind 6 grandchildren. John is from the prominent Lowell family, leaves behind his 10 siblings and their spouses. May he rest in peace.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just would like to add my condolences as well to the family of Mike Damaris. I've known Mike Damaris back to my teenage years. I first met him when he was a bagger at Alexander's Supermarkets in Hovey Square, which was some time ago. And I think that Council Mercy included just about everything, but he also was the chairman of the Democratic City Committee for about 30 years. She may have left that one out. I'm not sure. I might have missed it. But I think in that role, he also played an important part in Democratic politics over the years in Lowell. Thank you.
Any further? Councilor Leahy.
I also just want to pass my condolences on the family of Mike Damaris, and great guy, and the time that I got to know him and through neighborhood services and being on the neighborhood subcommittee, and just a little side joke that we have, we probably replaced a couple hundred signs over the last couple of years. I'd call him up every 3 months with a list of street signs, and he'd get them changed out, so thank you.
No, I think every council wants to issue their condolences to the family. The one thing, he was the neighborhood coordinator, but he took it to another level. I think all of us as councilors know that whenever he attended the meetings, if we weren't there, he made sure that the information was passed on to us and to the city council, and to the city manager to take care of the issues. And you're right, Councilor Leahy. It's a lot of the little things that are very important to our neighborhood groups, and he made sure that the little things, along with the major issues in neighborhoods, were dealt with. So, thank you. Please darken the chambers. Thank you. We'll now go to the minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee for acceptance. Minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee, February 26th, and the City Council meeting of February 26th for acceptance. I need a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Cirillo. Next, we have communications from the city manager. on motion responses. The first motion response is Community Preservation Act. We have, I believe, a speaker on that.
Richard Howe.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. My name is Richard Howe. I live at 130 Westview Road. I'm actually here tonight, though, in my capacity as the Middlesex North Register of Deeds, and that's because that office plays an important role in the Community Preservation Act. That was enacted by the state legislature back in 2000 to provide an incentive to cities and towns to invest in outdoor recreation facilities, open space, historic preservation, and affordable housing. And that incentive was that the state would provide a matching fund that would match any resources raised at the local level through a ballot initiative. And that state matching fund is funded through a surcharge on documents recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So anytime somebody buys a house in Lowell or refinances their property, they're probably paying close to $100 into this Community Preservation Act. So since the time it was enacted in July of 2000 up until just last Thursday, I calculated 335,000 documents for property in Lowell and incurred that surcharge. And that means that Lowell property owners have paid $6 million into that fund, and Lowell has not received a penny back. We're subsidizing projects in Dracut, Tewksbury, Billerica, Chelmsford, really every town that touches Lowell. About half the towns and cities in the Commonwealth have partaken in this. Now, the match back when it was first enacted was $1 for dollar, but so many towns have participated in it. It's less than that, but just last year in the state legislature, there were several bills to raise the amount of the surcharge. One would raise it to $50. And I suspect that one of those might be enacted in this next session. So I think it's a good thing for the city. I'd urge the council to consider exploring this further, whether it's through sending it to a subcommittee. The mechanism for getting it on the ballot is the council can just vote for it by a simple majority. Then it's up to the taxpayers. And the proposal can be tailored in a way to exempt people who are low income or seniors with low income from having to pay the additional amount of their taxes. But it just seems to me that we've already left $6 million on the table paid by people who own property in Lowell, and we should start participating in that, I think. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Noon, your motion.
Thank you, Mayor Semaras. Thank you, Register Deed Dick House. I thought the report from the managers and her team was very detailed. It's important, we have to do what we can in terms of, there's a possibility of getting that money. I know that other city and town, as indicated by Register Deed Howe, that over the past 17 years, other city and towns have benefited from our residents, the resident of Lowell, and that's our money. And so maybe there's a possibility of leverage that and, and trying to get that. But before we go there, I would ask that maybe this report gets sent to maybe housing subcommittee, because those is one of the category that CPA money can be used for, housing, recreational and open space. And I think too is that, with that, I would also recommend it, request through the managers to have DPD prepare a presentation as to the potential benefit that this money would have on the city, those use that I just mentioned, the housings and or recreational space and open space. We need to explore that. We need to find a way. We can't just, this is our money and we don't use it. We don't try to go get it. Then us neighboring city and town is happy to spend it. So that's all I have to say for now. I would ask that this gets sent to the housing subcommittee and as I indicated earlier, that with the help of the managers, having her team, DPD, prepare a presentation of the potential benefit of this.
Could I have a second on that motion?
Second.
By Council Kennedy, thank you. Yes.
I'm all for it, really.
Amendment. Any further discussion? Council Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I think it's a good point that we look into it. Excuse me, certainly, but the issue is, Mr. Howe indicated we left $6 million on the table. It's a one-to-one match, so we would have to raise the levy. We'd have to raise taxes on top of whatever our annual budget is. So if we raise it 2.5%, then we'd have to increase taxes, which is, to me, the concern, which is why we perhaps haven't raised it for this. But I'm willing to explore it, and at the very least, it's the taxpayers should make that decision. But during the presentation, we would have to raise the $6 million if it's still the one-to-one match, whether it's through you or maybe Mr. Howe.
I don't think it is one-to-one anymore, Counselor. It used to be. It's less than one-to-one. I don't know whether it's cents versus the one. Eric, maybe you have further. And would have to determine if the city was going to do it, what percentage. It can be 1, 2, or 3%. But
Okay.
That's correct. It can be either 1, 2, or 3%, and the current matching rate is not a one-to-one rate because the trust fund isn't fully built up. I apologize, I don't know the exact.
Oh, that's fine. I think it's
ratio
going to be a
at this
longer discussion, but I just want to make it clear that
We can
this is.
certainly have that by the
But
presentation.
Mr. Howe is correct. The bills have been presented every year. There are many especially by the communities who are participating in this, and they are looking for a bigger pot of money. And so whether that passes this year, who knows? So that could change, whatever the match is, depending on how many communities and how big the pot would be. But currently, it's less.
Okay. Does Mr. Howe, could I ask some questions? Since it's the inception, 17 years ago, what was the criteria initially for a percentage that goes into the fund and then communities?
The percentage that I'm talking about that incurred the $6 million was a surcharge. It's on $20 per document that's recorded. And you don't get back, it's not like you're putting the money that's held in trust for you.
Right.
I'm just saying that of all the money contributed in the state of Massachusetts, $6 million came from.
No, I understand that point. It makes sense. What would have been, do we know what the city's, if we had adopted back then, what would have been the city's contribution or the levy increase? Because it's a levy increase.
Well, it's 1%, but I guess if you were going to spend the money you were getting for something that you were going to pay for anyway, you might not have to raise the taxes as much as you would otherwise. And by getting the 1% through the CPA surcharge, you're getting some additional amount of money. And it's not 100% match now, but it's at least something more. So you'd be leveraging that money by getting more money from the trust fund, whereas if you're just raising the money solely from the taxpayers in the usual manner, it's just a one-to-one gain.
Right, if there were projects that
Right.
qualified for some of these things. So, okay, thank you. That was helpful.
Madam Manager, then Council
Okay, thank you.
Kennedy.
We can get a report addressing the types of projects and the cost. Mr. Baldwin just quickly calculated 1% would be a $1.3 million amount, and the impact on the average homeowner would be $35 a year. But we can put all this in a presentation for the council, and then we'll look further to how much would we get from the CPA in addition, as a match, whatever that number is. We'll try and get that as well.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful to also show if there were projects that the city would be paying for that we could get this money for, rather than putting
We'll
it.
take a look at the types of projects, be it housing or parks or open space that may, fall into the category, and what assistance there could be, just so the council has facts to consider.
Yeah, no, I think if we can get some of this money for projects in the pipeline or projects that we would have to pay for anyway, that makes sense. But I'll look forward to the report and further discussion. Thank you.
You all said, Councilor Kennedy and Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that the city manager and registrar Howe are absolutely correct. It used to be a one-to-one match. The program has become so popular now that I think it's like 40 cents to the dollar or something in that neighborhood. So it's really not as much. And so there has been an outcry from communities for the state to step up and put some more money in. But for us, this would probably be for, let's say, projects in parks that we would put off for another year, or that we wouldn't have enough. Or maybe instead of doing 1 per year, we could do 3 per year or 2 per year. So I think it's an excellent motion by Councilor Noon, and I think it's certainly worthwhile to look into it and see what the impact would be. I'm a little curious as to why we did not adopt it back in 2000 when it first became available. There had to be a reason why we didn't do that, but maybe that could be included in the report.
Councilor Noon, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I think too is that should we go that direction and trying to send it to voters, we can also, exempt really senior and, single, and low-income peoples as well. Those is a language there you can play and make it work for the city. I mean, even just we put $1 in there and getting $1.30. That's $30 30 cents more. You see, so it's good. It's really good. It's something that we have to do it, and we do it with a little more money than we otherwise have. So thank you.
Thank you. You all set? Madam Manager?
We will get that. I think one of the points is if the legislature does raise the fee from $20 to $50, for instance, so that means Lowell residents will be paying that much more and not to a bigger pool, but not, if we're not participating, then we don't get the advantage. So we'll come back with a full report.
All right. Thank you. Next, Merrill Drive, Councilor Cirillo.
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you. This is a good report. And I'm glad to see that there was a study and it's 15 miles per hour now and that we're going to have it strictly enforced. Can you just come up and explain what we've been going through with Merrill Drive? Because it's been such a long road to get to this point, and I'm hoping that this actually works because I did just receive 2 more photos of damaged property, and so let's just hope for the best.
So the report, basically I looked at the grade of the road. It's very steep. I think anybody who's been on Merrill Drive is aware of how steep it is. And the AASHTO, which is the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, they publish the guidelines for roadway design in the U.S. They don't actually have a requirement for a road that steep for an urban road because that's fairly atypical. And typically for urban roads, since they're typically spaced on a grid, which Merrill Drive obviously is not, speed is not actually a design factor because it's assumed people are going to be driving very slowly because they're going to be stopping at each cross street. So in this instance, I actually looked at local rural roads, which at a 15% slope would result in a 15-mile-an-hour design speed. I think if anybody's driven on that road, I think you would agree it's reasonable to drive slowly. It's very steep, it's very narrow. There's a curve in the middle of it. Last council meeting on the quarterly memo, the council approved adopting the commercial vehicle restriction as a permanent traffic ordinance for Merrill Drive, and those signs will go up, I guess, as soon as the weather is a little better, and with a strictly enforced
Perfect.
statement underneath it. Yeah, and I think, yes, obviously this has been a long process trying to get to this point. I think we need to get those signs up and give it, 60 days and see if that is an improvement for the property owners. So, as well as the neighborhood Belvedere that road ends up serving.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All set? Okay, next, Council Leahy.
I just wanted to add one thing. It will be good to end this, and if you can share those pictures with us, because I can't see for the life of me how you can damage anybody's property going up and down that street. There's a fire hydrant on one side, there's a telephone pole on the other. The most you can drive on is 4 inches of land, so it's just kind of crazy that we spent this amount of time on this street, so this will be good to end this and get it settled, because it's been a sore spot for the neighborhood, so, thank you.
Thank you. Council
Well,
Cirillo?
yes, we've received lots and lots of damaged property photos, and both Natasha and I, and we've forwarded them to the manager. And I just received 2 more today.
Okay, Council Late, wait a minute, just go through the chair, please. Okay, thank you. All right, next we have school contract costs. Councilman Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the city manager, to Connor Baldwin, I appreciate the information that you have provided in this report. I requested this information partly out of a little frustration because of what's been going on with the UTL and the information that has been going back and forth between the city side and the school side relative to the condition of the school buildings. And I can say collectively that we're all concerned about the condition of the school buildings. I understand that UTL is back before the Board of Health tomorrow evening under unfinished business. And I just wanted this report to show that during a time when on the city side, we've actually been cutting staff, whether it's something that we just couldn't fill these skilled positions, HVAC person on the city side, a plumber on the city side, and so forth. But during that time, when we were cutting on the city side, the school department, and again, rightly so, they're doing their job from the standpoint of Paul George as representing the UTL. The salary increases have gone up in 2016, 1.6 million, in 2017, 10.2 million, and then in 2018, $2.8 million. Now, I understand on the school department budget, about $165 million, 150 of which is Chapter 70 money, and then the other is from the city taxpayer. But at the end of the day, we only have a certain budget size that it can only be divided in so many pieces of a pie, if you will. And I know that salary and wages is the lion's share, but at the same time, we're trying to keep up with our municipal buildings. And on this, or in this report from the Collins Center, where we talk about the city facilities and the maintenance budget, it's gone down for the last 5 years, where, again, on the education side, it's gone up. So, again, Paul Georges is doing his job, and I respect him for that. But, again, reaching out to the Division of Labor and Standards to, again, complain about the working conditions for his members might, in my opinion anyway, just be an overreach. And I understand that he's filed a Freedom of Information request to get the report that you, Madam Manager, submitted to the Division of Labor Standards dealing with just that. But at the end of the day, when we're being told by Collins that on the custodial side, and the custodial budget hasn't gone up as much as the teachers and the LSAA members, but at the same time, we have 93 custodians. We're overstaffed, according to the Collins report. And there's some simple things in the report that say, can we go back to the custodians and redo their agreement to say that they'll replace ceiling tiles? And I understand custodians are supposed to clean the buildings, but at the end of the day, when you have, and again, I'll bring up the Greenhouse School, a boiler that isn't being turned on in order to have it warm when the kids come into school, that's got to be on someone on the school side, not on the city side. I could be wrong on that, but at the end of the day, listening to the union rep saying they go into the Greenhouse School, there's 2 boilers, one doesn't work at all. I know we've put money, we've applied for 9 schools under the MSBA, which is all very important. But I think this report from the CFO and from the manager shows that, again, we're financing from the standpoint of the salaries, which is contractual, but we're cutting back on the city side, which, you know, to me is something that we as a body have to look at going forward. And again, the UTL's back before the Board of Health on Wednesday. They've asked for a Freedom of Information request on our response to the Division of Labor Standards. again, I don't like the finger point, but we need to work together on this. And I'm hoping that the facilities group, both on the city side and the school side, they continuing to meet. And I know that, Madam Manager, that the report that you had put together in reaction to Mr. George's complaints to the Board of Health, you've indicated that those all have been addressed. So, again, I thank you for the report. Again, just, I think it's something that we need to continue to pay attention to going forward.
Madam Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just quickly to address the greenhouse school that you mentioned, Counselor. So there was an issue on 2 different dates in December when the boiler went off overnight and had to be restarted. And so 2 things around that. That's been fixed, and the boiler is working, as well as there was a classroom that was not getting sufficient heat, and that has also been fixed. But as importantly, there was supposed to be a notification system through Stellaris to notify personnel overnight if any boiler went off. That wasn't operating. And so that is operational now. So the school department personnel does get a notification if it's 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Regardless of what building it is, it's in full operation. So
I understand that Mr. Georges is indicating to the public, if you will, that he sees much more cooperation from you, Madam Manager, and that he feels that things are improving and getting done. But again, he's back before the Board of Health tomorrow night and requesting all kinds of other information.
Madam Manager?
thank you. And we will, as we did last month, we provided the council with an update of all of the issues that he raised, and we indicated they've all been addressed or in the work in progress of being addressed. Some of these things have to be ordered, and some of them are more long-term. There's a short list that is a part of the Board of Health. We will provide the council with an update on that. And as far as the Department of Labor and Standards, they requested a response by February 28th. They did give us an extension, and without getting into the details for the reason, we're meeting with them on March 14th. We did provide a response preliminary to address some of the issues that they raised, but we need clarification from them in a number of areas. So, it's a work in progress. I'm happy to provide the council with our response as well.
You all said, Councilman Mazza? Councilor Conway?
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor.
Leahy?
Again, the report was very interesting, and what really popped out at me was the UTL teachers. And if you take a look, excuse me, at 2015, it's 69,581,000 and change. And then at 2016, it goes up to 70,802,000. But when you go to 2017, there's an increase of $7,480,564, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because if you take a look at that, that's about a 10 point, I think it's 10.25 increase for that particular year. Now, if you look back at the contract for that year, if I've got this correct, is 0, 2, and 1. 0 at the beginning of the school year, 2 in the middle, and 1 at the last day, which actually results in a 1% for the total year. So I'm not sure how we get, how are you calculating, or how is that being calculated? Because there's almost a $7.5 million increase, but yet the raises amounted to, during that 2016-17 year, only 1% in total.
Yeah, I will turn this over to the CFO. We took their numbers. These aren't our numbers. These are their numbers. So, Mr. Baldwin.
But are those numbers, is that the salary? Is that?
That's right. Thank you, Madam Manager. So for this, there's 2 pages of the supporting documentation. The first is these 4 years of actual costs. So these numbers that are on the report are an actual salary cost from the Munis accounting system. The second page, which goes on to project out the cost, is based on That's a projection calculated based on the contract, but these figures included here are the actual salaries paid to those employees during those years.
Well, then how did it actually increase by, how does it increase by $7.5 million, and yet the contract is 0.21, which is 1%? Were there a lot of additional teachers that were hired? I mean, there has to be some type of clarification. The numbers are way off.
So, we were asked to get the numbers, period, by virtue of the motion. We weren't asked to analyze
Oh,
what the hiring was.
no, I understand that. I understand
So
that.
we-
I'm
I
just,
guess we can't answer that.
Okay.
Without, I mean, we just went to get the numbers that were in the system based on.
no, I understand that, Madam Manager. I'm just saying that going forward here, maybe we can get some clarification on those numbers, whether they were correct or not. They just don't, I mean, the other numbers, when you look at all the other salaries, and the jump from year to year seems reasonable. But yet, on this one here, it's just way off somehow. I don't have the answer for that.
So it certainly does appear to be unusual. So in looking into it, we drilled down a little bit, and if you look at the average employee, over the number of employees did not change all that much. There was about a plus 25 change year to year. The average salary in the UTL group increased by just under $5,300, but when you multiply that by 1,100 employees, that's about $5.8 million.
I'm wondering, could you just check back with them to make sure those numbers that they gave here are correct?
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
You all set? Okay, Council Lee, then Council Kennedy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. When we were talking about the heating and who notifies who pays for that program? Is that paid through the school system?
Stellaris?
Yeah.
I believe, hold on. We'll check on the notification. It might be under DPW. We'll double check on
I
that.
thought back when it was.
It's Stellar,
paid.
not Stellaris.
Okay.
Stellaris is something you see an ad on on TV. That's what got in my
Just agreeing
head.
with you because, you know,
Yeah.
you're up there.
Yeah.
But
I thought it
back
was a
when, I
pill.
thought the school department paid for that service.
We'll check if it's the schools or us. I'm not quite sure, but I know it wasn't operational for whatever reason, but it is now. And so notification is working,
Right.
since we got
But
it.
again, it just seems like when I was on school committee, we paid for that service, so.
We used to pay for police officers too, but that's
Yeah,
another
but we
subject.
shouldn't be getting blamed when if you rent an apartment out, you can't turn the heat up and down for people, so. It just, some of this stuff has to be taken on by the schools, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, we have been working closely with the school department on these issues in terms of the buildings. We meet with them on a regular basis, the superintendent, Ricky Underwood, her team, and we meet with our DPW city engineer, who had done a great job and still has been involved. So these meetings happen on a regular basis, and trying to deploy all hands on deck to make sure issues are addressed and addressed promptly.
Okay. Were school department employees supposed to be here tonight, I thought, and maybe they changed their mind? I thought a couple of the assistant superintendents were gonna be here tonight.
We'll address that, so we can talk about that in one of the next items coming up. We had a meeting, without getting off topic, but we did meet with the superintendent and the CFO today, so.
Okay, I thought they were gonna be here tonight, but no. Okay.
All set, Council Lee? Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I talked to Mr. Baldwin earlier today about the very issue that Mr. Conway brought up. And if a 1% increase in salary for teachers equates to about $700,000, it's just, I don't understand why that would be such a jump, an $8 million jump. And I understand that we don't know the answer right now, but it would be good to know what constituted, what makes up that raise. So maybe that's a report that we can get just on that number and why that jumps up in that year, because it's just that year. All of the increases in the other years are, kind of line up, except for 2017.
Councilor Elliott?
I'm going to presume that those contracts are retroactive, and that is the reason for that huge bump, because maybe between one year to the next, it was somewhat consistent, but when you have retro, and including those retros, you have step raises. So that's, you can factor in your percentage raise, but you also have to include the step raises that was part of that contract, and that contract went retro, I believe, at least a year. So I agree, let's get the numbers, but the percentage is as consistent, and that large gap is a result of when it's retroactive too, because that's part of it.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Kennedy?
Councilor Elliott might be correct. That might be part of the answer, but my recollection is the first year of that contract, there was zero raise. There was no raise whatsoever in the first year. So I don't know how that would account for there being such a jump. That might make up part of it. It just would be good to find out where it is, because nobody really knows why it's so high, but it would be good to know that.
Any other discussion? Councilor Elliott?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with Council Milanazzo's point, and I think that's where it hit its home and the value of this report, as well as other reports. The contracts that we approve, we want to be fair to our employees, and certainly the unions have their job to do, and I understand, but we only have a pot of money. And a yeoman's share, that does come from the state, thank goodness. And then after that, do we put it for salaries? Do we put it for equipment? We have to plow the roads. We have to buy police cruisers. We have to maintain our buildings. And we try to be reasonable with tax increases, but there is only so much to go around. And unfortunately, when it comes to maintenance of our buildings, we haven't dedicated as much as we have. And it's caught up to us now. So it's a shift. It's this paradigm where you have to work within our means and be reasonable with taxpayers, and that's where it's at. So I think the report is valuable. I think it underscores that we do make a huge commitment to education and still try to provide services. And the good news is the legislature and the governor are taking up a funding formula, which will certainly go a long way to relieve the burden of some of the neglect that we have had to carry as a result of funding salaries and so many other things. So I think that's a step, a very positive step that'll help communities like Lowell, I don't want to say free up money, but be able to dedicate resources to maintenance and other things that we really need to do. So I think it's a good report and a good discussion and good explanation for the people at home that to know where the money is going.
Councilor?
Yeah, just very quickly, in that report that you're going to give, I think it might be wise to also add in the paraprofessionals, because when you're taking a look at the percentage increase, it's very similar in that 10% bracket. So if we could add that into that.
Okay. I think.
Thank you.
I think the council has stated very well that we need to have accurate information regarding this issue. And I think Madam Manager, I think the step raises would have some effect. I think Councilor Elliott's correct. Besides the raise, there is a lot of new teachers in the school system, so there are more, we'll say, changing levels than, we'll say, there were a few years back when it was a much more seasoned staff of. Any further, Councilor Kennedy?
The discussion that I had with Mr. Baldwin today, we considered that there would be more teachers. But if there were more teachers and they replaced other teachers, they would be at a lower step. So that doesn't explain it either. I think at this point, I think there is no explanation. And we can all suppose what the reason is, but I think until we get a report from Mr. Baldwin, we won't really know.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, Councilor Kennedy. My statement is there were more teachers that were at level. So the only raise they got was the percentage raise by the union. But there are many teachers, newer teachers, that are going up the various ladders, and there is money in that area, so I want to make sure that that's counted properly. That's it. Madam Manager?
Just quickly, to Councilor Leahy's question, the Stellar contract is on the school budget. Mr. Baldwin just checked, so.
Okay. We all said this issue? Thank you. Next, we have information reports, school department bad bills. Madam Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. There's a report in your packet that reports on the status of bad bills that have been sent over, that the school department has been sending over. We've been dealing with this, or Mr. Baldwin in Finance has, for several weeks. And he explains the issues, what are bad bills for a bill outstanding to a vendor with the school department that has not been paid from a prior fiscal year. There were also included in the category items including that sounded in payroll or in tuition reimbursements, which would not be an outside vendor. And I think the explanation was thorough as far as where we are as of today, as of the day the report went out to you last week. As I said, this has been ongoing. It's the City Council's obligation to deal with bad bills and examine every one. In that process, Finance does look at every single bill and has vetted every single bill. And I think your informational report verified that Finance, that there were items in the list that had actually already been paid. And so I don't want to cut off discussion, but I do want to bring the council up to date. Mr. Baldwin, myself, had the opportunity to meet today with the superintendent, Janine Durkin, and their CFO, Billy Joe Turner, and it was a productive meeting. This is information that we have been going back and forth on for, as I said, at least several weeks. And so the results of the meeting is as follows. They are going to send us an amended list of bad bills. And the bad bills will be those that have not been paid to outside vendors from a prior fiscal year. They will send us the documentation, the backup information, including a certification, which is required under the law, that these services were provided and that they were not paid for. This goes to the FY18 budget, and actually one, I think, is even predating FY18. And then the second part is they are going to withdraw from this items that they've already paid that have to do with salaries and with tuition reimbursements. So we're awaiting that amended list that will have the bad bills as we've discussed what are required under the statute, and also it will not include the bills that they've already paid that have to do with in-house salary and tuition reimbursements. And as soon as we get those, we'll examine those and bring them to the council for the council's decision on how to move forward.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is my feeling on the bad bills. If we were to vote and we needed a 2/3 vote to allow the school committee to pay bad bills from a previous fiscal year with money from, let's say, this fiscal year, I would support that. I would support that. I understand that. But when I looked at this list, and from what I'm gathering now, it doesn't seem like it's accurate enough. It's going to be amended because I have questions. What's a hummingbird? What is that? I have no clue as to what that is. There's nobody here to explain that. I love hummingbirds, but I don't know for $3,300 and something. And I want you to know that I had to get a magnifying glass because I could not see this with my glasses in there, like plus 175. I still couldn't see it. Then you got Verizon T-Mobile for $1,414. You got travel for $383. You got Article 16 payments for $35,000. I don't know what an Article 16 payment is. Bertos Nominee Realty Trust for $1,500. I don't know any of this. Angor Dance Troupe, 2,700. I don't know what's going on here, so if there was a vote tonight, I would not be supporting it. And I'm wondering, what is our obligation? You know, we have our own things that we have to do, and I'm a little put off by that.
So let me just address, in terms of anyone being here, we did meet, as I said, with the CFO and with the superintendent. The CFO was prepared to come if we were voting on this or dealing with this. I explained to her that we were going to tell the council that they're going to send us a new list, an amended list, at which point we can have a more full discussion. So she would have come here. It isn't that we told her not to, just
No, I
that,
understand.
we're going to be bringing this back in when we get the more full list. So I don't want anybody to think that they're blowing us off or anything.
I
That
don't
couldn't
think
be. Yeah, and in terms of each one, that's part of the process Mr. Baldwin's been going through, and you may want to address this for several weeks. In terms of bad bills, I'll let Mr. Baldwin, since he's been dealing with this for weeks and weeks, if you can address those.
Thank you, Madam Manager. So we did have some additional questions, and Ms. Turner's been very receptive to responding to those. However, with some of these bills are not specifically bad bills as contemplated under the statute. So to bring a vote to the council on all of them as a package would just not be in the proper form. So we wanted to make sure to parse out what was obligation for a vendor, which would fall under the bad bills language of the statute, versus this other category that the city manager described. So we're getting there. We wanted to inform the council of the process, and that was the purpose of the informational item tonight. We do anticipate, after some additional clarification from the superintendent and the CFO and the schools, that we'll have sufficient documentation to request the law department drop the vote and bring a vote in its proper form for, just to explain a little bit, in order for the auditor to authorize payment for bills that occurred in a prior fiscal year, this vote is necessary for the documentation, so that, when our outside auditors take a look and spot check some of the bills, if they occurred in a prior fiscal year, there's legislative approval at the local level to let that happen. So that's the reason why we're doing all of this.
Yes, and I'm going to rely heavily on your recommendation as the chief financial officer, because I think as a city council, we're paying our just share. As you know, we're going to have a vote down the agenda line for $117,000, which I think, in my opinion, I don't know if my colleagues will support it, but I think it's warranted. I think whenever they ask for a reasonable request, I think we step up to the plate and do that. But to say at the last minute, gee, we should have owed all these bills and now it's your obligation to pay, I'm a little bit taken aback by that. But be that as it may, it's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, we have Council Conway, Council Milonazo, Council Newman, and Council Leahy. Council Conway.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the city manager and the team to take a look at this list and scrutinize it, because if we didn't, we'd be paying monies out that have already been paid, which doesn't make a lot of sense, and it certainly is. When I look at this, it's rather misleading, to be quite frank with you, to have the school department drop a list like this on your office and on the city council. One of the things that popped right out, and I agree with Councilor Mercy, it is a little difficult to see this list here, and I didn't know what a hummingbird was either, except for the obvious. But when you take a look at the course reimbursement, and it was $33,000. That's the thing. That's the item that really popped out at me. And I think we all know Paul Georges. There's no way on earth he would have allowed $33,000 not to be paid for reimbursement to his teachers. And then that's when I started to look at the rest of this. And I agree again with my counselors that some of these things, they really. You need a greater explanation of what these items actually are.
All set?
Thank you.
All set. Then Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the CFO. In looking at the list, and it talks at the title, tracking of bad bills / insufficient account. My question has to do with the system of municipal finance and having a purchase order in order to pay a bill. So my question is, are there purchase orders to back up all these bills, or are there not? There's not. And if there are purchase orders, are the purchase orders in a sufficient dollar amount to satisfy the entire obligation? So again, this is, can be part of the report, but I guess that's my question from the standpoint of the mechanism with the purchase order system and whether or not they actually had a PO and what dollar amount was associated with that PO and that vendor. Thank you.
That is something that we're verifying and looking into. In most cases, there was a purchase order. However, it may have lapsed, or the case is different for each one of these vendors. But except for those that would have been payroll payments or disbursements, those are paid on a different warrant, so would not have had a purchase order in place. But if I may, I just want to clarify that there was additional information provided aside from just this list that's included in your packet. However, with some of those that included like reimbursements, it had employees' names, it had additional piece of information that we didn't want to put in the package. One, because we were still looking into whether it was valid or not, but also if it was not, it would not be proper to have that as part of the record.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Baldwin, who from the school department prepared this list of bad bill?
This came to me from the Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Billy Joe Turner.
And probably knowing that some of those bad bills already being paid, right? Or not?
Let me,
Clarification,
that was something through the process back and forth. It was determined, as Mr. Baldwin says in the report, that through the auditor's office, that some of these payroll and the like were paid. Ms. Turner, in the superintendent today, did agree that they will withdraw those as a request from the city council to the city council to pay. But her explanation is that they were incurred in a prior fiscal year, paid this fiscal year, and she, in this spirit of transparency, wanted to list them to us, even though they didn't really fall under bad bills, and hoped maybe that we'd pay them. But so I don't think, but they're amending what their request to us, and they're pulling those out.
To say the least, Councilor Conway is correct. Is very misleading. Stuff has already been paid and just put it there, hoping that this council is going to pay for it. And also, I do agree with Councilor Mercier that a lot of this stuff in here, we don't know. We don't have an explanation as to what each one of those lists is for.
So some of the things, as Mr. Bowen said, they did send over, and there were more requests coming from our finance department for more information. So there's some information, but none that are complete, and so that's the status. But because some people have asked about where are we on bad bills, some vendors are looking for payment, and we feel, very bad about the fact that they haven't been paid for a good long time.
Yeah.
We're trying to process this, doing our due diligence, and so I am hopeful after our meeting today, we may have a more complete and full list so that we at least informed to bring to the council.
If I may suggest, I guess, is going forward, we should thinking about a working group between the CFO here and over there, so that this kind of thing doesn't happen down the future. I think it's important in that we're working closely with the school department to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen. Thanks.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. So through you to the CFO, are there rules or something in place where, how do we, I think it said in your report, we're not obligated to pay these, right? Legally?
That's correct. The authorization that the vote would give would be for the auditor to process the bill. The source of payment for the bill, I guess that's up to the city council.
Right, but where's the accountability for, school department, if they overspend, why does it go back to the city? Like, is that just the way it's set up through the?
So that, obviously, that's
Government.
part of the negotiation and part of the vote, as the vote authorizes payment, but the auditor has to know which side of the government's paying for this, right? Is it the school side, is it the city side? And so, right now, we'll continue the discussions. My understanding is that the request was that we pay these bills, but
No, I understand that, but it just seems like this is what people get tired of, you get government, the way it runs, they overspend, and then they go to the taxpayer to pay the bills, and this is what people get tired of. There's no accountability for anybody that's in the position at the time, to be responsible. And it just
Right.
drives you crazy.
And it's unfortunate when a third-party company who did work gets caught in the crossfire, but we're
Right.
working to make sure that we're trying to be fair to everybody, including those vendors who provided services and local companies that are looking to get paid, and they're just standing there having done the work.
Yeah, I mean, is this something that should be changed in the legislature, or that too difficult to say?
I think it's two different things.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any further? Yes, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you continuing to work this through. We've been meeting for months, finance, with the schools, and I know you've dedicated an awful lot of time working with the school department and the business office. I agree with my colleagues. It seems that, there are some organizational deficiencies in the school department where lack of communication, we've seen it in the audit, we've seen it in our independent audit, and, something has to be done. And I know that we've talked about this in the past, but perhaps it's time for the administration to start taking a look at consolidating both fiscal offices, including the HR department. Because if you look at the findings from year to year, whether it's on payroll or to some degree invoices, there's a lack of communication, and this is where we end up. So I'll file that for next week, but I do think, Connor and the administration, the finance team have been scrutinizing these figures and getting them down to, so we're not overpaying, and there's still a lapse. So I have some concerns. Some of the items were mentioned, not only from a control perspective, but it's also a policy decision on some of these things. Why are we spending $7,000 for Copeland and Page when we have a fully staffed law department here on the city side and there's attorneys on the other side? That makes no sense. Somebody's making those decisions without a purchase order or not. So, we can go through this list, and I hope we can, when you do get a final list, to have a thorough discussion at perhaps the finance subcommittee, because I think that's what it warrants. Not only, that they're bad bills, but who made the decisions? Who committed the city to have to pay these? WB Mason, $7,000. Where, is there a system for ordering supplies that they're living within the budget? We do this on this side. We get regular reports, and there needs to be some significantly tightening up of controls on the school side. So look forward to that discussion and getting to the bottom of this. We are in March and looking at bad bills from prior fiscal years. So anything, Madam Manager?
I just wanted to say, to your point, that we're in March, and that was one of the reasons that the CFO prepared this status update for the council, because what we don't want to do is let this matter go into the next fiscal year. So we're trying to work as diligently with the school department so we can address these, fully.
Okay. So we'll look forward to the auditor's report that I hope is forthcoming to provide, whether it's benchmarks or stopgap measures or quarterly meetings, whatever the case, and maybe it is time to merge. Some communities have done that, and whether it'll save costs or at least ensure strong controls on spending of payroll or any other things, I think it makes sense. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Bowman. When we get the amended list, can it be a little bit more comprehensive so that we know what Hummingbird is, for instance, or why we needed WB Mason, or, some of the other things that are on here? It's just,
We'll increase the font size as well.
I'm not, I can handle a font size, but it would be good to have a little bit more information than what was given here.
Absolutely, Council.
No, just for the record, I know the city manager and the CFO have been working with the superintendent and the CFO from the school department regarding this matter. But I too asked the questions of not understanding. And for the people who are watching, this, so there's no misunderstanding what's going on. The school department submitted a request for funding, but there was a need to clarify bad bills, correct, Madam Manager, versus money expended for school department issues from the previous year. So you had two issues, bad bills versus money they already expended, and they were looking for more money. They were looking for money to cover those costs. Was another way of obtaining extra funding.
That was the initial request, although it wasn't framed that way, but that was the upshot of the initial request, the $255,000 in total.
So what I've asked of the city manager and the CFO, for all of us, because all of us are asking the same question, we want to have a clear understanding of what bills are real, what bills, what categories they fall under, and as Councilor Elliott said, are the stopgap measures there to prevent misspending of taxpayers' funds?
And again, I just want to...
It's a need at this point, Madam
Mr.
Manager.
Mayor, I just want to repeat what the CFO, Ms. Turner, did say, is that she wanted to put forward all the total number of what were, they weren't totally bad bills, but what were from the prior fiscal year that they had to pay in this fiscal year. Let me put it that way. That was her attempt to be transparent, but also they were requesting us to pay them. Mr. Baldwin had one point, I think it was in answer to a prior.
A couple of the questions that have been raised by the council as to procedures or local ordinances that are in place to protect against these measures. The reserve system ordinance that's been on the books for a very long time and is referenced in almost all of our city contracts does just that, and is a very good ordinance. It requires that any contractor can't perform work before the receipt of a purchase order that's duly issued by the city auditor. And our method for ensuring that, the Munis accounting system, works very well at that. It's so the procedures in place are very good. It's just getting everyone to follow the rules.
Councilor Elliott?
I just had one more follow-up question. Can you just explain on the absolute last line item under the revolving account deficiency, the Aramark bills being held? That's a big dollar figure, 1.4 million.
My understanding, Councilor, is that was not part of this official request, but was sort of just informational. There is also a food service issue that's related to invoices due to Aramark that are paid out of the food service fund, which is not part of the general fund. And so this was I guess a status update to us as to where it's at, but we can certainly get more information on that question.
Does the auditor have an answer?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The $1.4 million reference is actually the April, the May, and the June bills from that prior fiscal year. They were received the months after, so the April bill was received beginning of May, May bill received beginning of June, June bill received beginning of July, and then those were paid after the prior business administrator had left, and then were submitted once the new one had arrived at the end of August. So they were paid under the school lunch fund. They were just paid in FY19 as opposed to FY18.
So that's a bad bill from FY18? It's just a carryover into FY19? Okay.
Not necessarily, if
It's part of the road
if
retaining
it comes like after July 1st, but it was for June, then
Okay.
that's not really a bad bill.
Okay, thank you.
Council Leahy?
I just want to mention too that, I understand that the superintendent and the finance superintendent over there have walked into this. So even though, some of the comments tonight are kind of harsh, we appreciate that they're straightening out the mess over there. So,
That's the purpose of the meetings,
just
Council.
want to make sure that they know that, but we're just doing our part on the city side too. So appreciate all the hard work that they're doing, sitting down, working with you.
No, thank you, but that's the observation I made myself. I mean, that's what city manager is doing. Any further discussion? What's the matter?
Accept
Councilor-
communications from the city manager, place them on file.
Yes, and I need a second. Councilor Cirillo? Thank you. Next, we have, I'm sorry, we didn't do the GFOA budget
Oh,
award.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In my zeal to,
Most important thing on the agenda.
Speaking of budgets, well, congratulations for all your hard work.
Yeah.
I had a zeal to, we'll say, see how we could close this meeting. Madam Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and
101.
for a bit of good news. I'm very happy to let you and the public know that the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers of the United States and Canada, announced this past week that the City of Lowell has received the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for FY 2019, operating and capital budgets. The report details what it represents, and in short, it represents really a significant achievement by the City of Lowell and Lowell City government, and reflects a commitment from this council and the administration to meeting the highest principles of government budgeting. In order to receive the award, Lowell had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation, and the guidelines are to assess a number of things. How well the budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. And so it must be rated proficient in all four categories and 14 other mandatory criteria. Only about 1,500 municipalities throughout the entire United States and Canada have received this award, and it's only the second time Lowell has received this award, and which was established in 1984. So a copy of the award, it should have been included. I don't know if you have it, but to put on your wall. But the city, we're very proud of the finance department and their team for achieving this award. So congratulations.
Mr. Kennedy?
I just wanted to congratulate the finance department and the CFO in particular on getting this award. Did we get this award a couple of years ago, or did we?
We did. I think the number in the informational item is a little outdated. This is number 4 for us.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now, if I
Motion.
may, Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the communications from the city manager and place them on file.
And second by Councilor Cirillo. Thank you. All right, next we have votes from the city manager. Vote approve exemption of Peter Finnegan from Mass General Law 2688A. Waive the full reading and second reading by title. Approve the exemption of Peter Finnegan from the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 26A, Section 20. I need a motion to adopt.
So
By
moved.
Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Elliott. Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay. Next, 4.2, vote transfer of funds to replace school department TV equipment, software, and hardware for the operation of the Lowell Educational Channel. Waive the full reading, second reading by title. To transfer $117,313 in funds to replace school department, television equipment, and certain incidental software and hardware critical to the operation of the Lowell Education Channel. Madam Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. You can see from the packet that Billy Joe Turner from the CFO has sent a communication explaining the situation with the Lowell High School television studio. In essence, their computer system, I'll phrase it that way, is down, and so they need to replace the system at the TV studio in order for it to be functioning. That's going to cost $117,000 and some odd dollars. Without it, the students couldn't be using the studio, and so the request is to come from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund. As we've explained in the communication, we're recommending this transfer tonight. Let me be clear. I know we've talked in the past about what monies we can and can't, or we're able to transfer, even back in the summer. We're able to recommend this tonight because we recently got a payment from Comcast. Now, there's plenty of needs on the city side, believe me, for these funds, but in light of the fact that the school department has made it clear that they don't have the money in this budget to replace this, and to rather have than say, put it in your next budget or capital plan, then the students would be without the ability to use the TV studio, and that doesn't seem prudent. But just to, so we are recommending to the council that we do this, even though, as I said, there's many city needs for that same number. But if we look at what we're paying here and the monies that have already been transferred for the van and for the other money that we did for we thought it was for personnel in the TV studio. Mr. Baldwin, can you bring the council up to date as to that figure?
Thank you, Madam Manager. With those totals, it brings the number to $381,646 for this fiscal year.
So, again, it can't be fixed, and they can't use the studio without this. And we also, I think, reported recently that the van is ready. Do we have an update on that?
That's correct, Madam Manager. We recently received communication from Brian Wilkins in the TV studio that the van, the City Council appropriated funding for the van 2 times actually, but it has been completed, outfitted. He sent us some pictures. It looks fantastic, and they hope to get it up and running very soon.
Okay, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Who manages that fund for, I mean, is the city just specifically designate, because I believe a percentage is required to go to the school, and then whatever balance is left is for the city.
Yeah, we manage.
Seems like we've been working on this for a long time, and here we go, lo and behold, we get all the way almost to the finish line, and then there's no software. So do we feel this is the end, and that we will have students now being educated? Again, it's March, school year ends soon, and the studio has been non-operational for a good part of the year.
Mr. Baldwin, in terms of the percentage?
The percentages are all a function of the license agreement with Comcast that the city holds. There is a franchise license fee as well as some capital payments that come into the city annually, a couple different times a year. There's no set percentage that has to be used in any particular fiscal year on any particular purpose, only that those funds can only be used for public access, educational programming, and then government services. So our contract with LTC is funded with this money. We use it for the Lowell Educational Channel, as well as some other other components of our institutional network that brings data and video to the school sites.
Okay. What is the balance? Is that in a special, I presume, a special fund that we appropriate out of?
It's just over $300,000 if this transfer is approved. So 425, 136 prior to the transfer.
Madam Manager, will you be coming with an annual request on, as you mentioned, city needs?
Yeah, we do have city needs that we're going to make a recommendation. We haven't finalized those. We're looking at those across the board, but there are several city needs. But to your point, in addition to the institutional money spent, whether it's INET or things that benefit the schools, we have really gone above and beyond in terms of the city doing its part by the schools out of this particular account, especially this transfer. But again, going back to the circumstances, we certainly could have taken the position that, the schools will just have to wait to the next budget. It's their equipment and so forth. But in the final analysis, it seemed that didn't seem to be fair to the students over there.
I think it's a good decision. I support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kennedy, Councilor Kennedy.
I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second by Councilor
question.
Elliott. Okay, Councilor
When we
Leahy.
replace, through you, the manager, when you replace all this equipment, is there a warranty or anything on it for so many years? Or, because it's my understanding, I know the equipment over there was old, but, it just wore out.
The schools will manage the, most of the components of the licensing, but with most larger purchases like this, there will be at least 1 year as part of the purchase, and then the annual recurring costs will have to be part of their budget.
No, but I mean, is there a warranty on the equipment we're buying? Is there 5 or 10-year?
Right, so the school department is buying the actual equipment, and it'll be up to them. I think it may be a year that may come with the purchase, the warranty.
All right.
Okay. Councilor Nolan-Houser.
Thank you. Just quickly, do the students actually receive class credit when they participate in the Lowell Education Channel and actually work in the studio? Do they get credits?
Credit course.
It is, credit courses. Okay, good. That's important to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wholeheartedly support this out of respect for the Cregan family who has given so much to the city of Lowell in memory of a daughter who died in school. I mean, we have a functioning department where students learn how to do things with the televisions and programming. This is a talent that a lot of students have, and yet the equipment isn't working up to par. It's only fair that I think the city, and I'm very thankful to you, Madam Manager, for thinking that this is worth it, because it is. Out of respect for the family, out of respect for the students that want to learn this particular trade. When you turn on the TV at night and you watch the news or whatever, they probably had to learn somewhere. I still want to get the news when I'm 100 years old. Might be from some of these students that learned at Lowell High School. So there's a need there, and I do support it. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia, for the record, Mr. Cregan did call my office this afternoon in hopes that this motion would be passed. Okay, but he also wanted to state that his family was very appreciative of this council and this manager's support for the Cregan studio over the years, and would hope that it would be approved of tonight. But him and his family are very grateful
Yeah.
for this.
I'm sure they are,
Okay.
so I support it.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
Okay, report subcommittee, there's no subcommittee, any subcommittee report? No. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a subcommittee report, but I did receive a notice, a request to have a subcommittee meeting for the age-friendly Boston Action Plan that Councilor Cirillo brought forth as a motion. I scheduled a subcommittee meeting with the Senior Citizen Subcommittee meeting next Tuesday at 5:30. So that'd be March 12th at 5:30 for this particular issue to be discussed. I have copies for my colleagues on the board, Councilor Leahy and Councilor Noon, to go over the action plan, and we will be discussing what we could do further, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have 5.Y, wire inspection. First Light, Joyce Consulting Group requests permission to install underground fiber optic conduits at the intersection of Lawrence Street and Billerica Street. I need a motion to accept and adopt accompanying order. Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Elliott. Next, we have 5.2, wire inspection, National Grid, Verizon, New England, requests installation of new utility pole and underground conduit at 97 Tanner Street. I need a motion to accept and adopt the accompanying order. Again by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Mercia. Next, we have 6.1 petitions. Pineapple Realty LLC requests zoning amendment to extend current light industrial zoning district to include current parcels located in the additional two-family zoning district along 264, 266 Plain Street and 58 Montreal Street. I need a motion to refer to the Law Department to draft the proper ordinance.
So moved.
By Councilor Elliott and second by Councilor Cirillo. Okay, any discussion? Next, we have motions by City Council. First motion by Councilor Leahy, request City Manager forward school committee reports regarding school playground equipment to appropriate department to formulate a plan of action. Need a second? By Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. There was a motion a couple of weeks ago, and just looking for a response. If we could get together with the school department to get a plan of action to have the broken and damaged playground equipment replaced, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion, thank you. Next, 7.2, got by Councilor Leahy, request City Manager have inspectional services provide a report regarding winter shoveling ordinance compliance and ticketing, as well as an additional report regarding barrel ordinance compliance. Need a second? By Councilor Mercia. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. If we could just get a report from what we did this winter with the shoveling downtown, in the neighborhoods, on the main roads. Honestly, I think we can do a much better job. We should be bringing in some money. If people aren't complying, you can drive down Rogers Street, there's sidewalks that aren't shoveled by some of the bigger businesses there throughout the neighborhoods. And, you know, the downtown, we said this at the beginning of the snow season, and it just doesn't happen, but for next year, there's no reason why the sidewalks can't look closer to what they do over at Enterprise Bank. I mean, if they can do it, we can come up with a plan. And we've been saying this for years, and it's about time that we really do it. You know, all of us, you park anywhere on one of the main streets in the downtown, you gotta walk 50 feet up or back to get onto the sidewalk. There's no cutouts from where people park. Sometimes the entryways for the ramps aren't shoveled out. And I understand that there's a 24-hour period, but maybe that has to change because, you know, it's just not working. And we can do a much better job. So if we get a report on that and a plan of action also, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have 7.3 by Councilor Leahy. Request City Manager have transportation engineer review the intersection at Monadnock Avenue, Raynard Street for possible four-way stop sign. Second by Councilor Mercia.
Thank you. This is another request that came from the neighborhood. It's one of these streets where we put four-way stops on either side, and now we're just rerouting the traffic up this street, which makes it that much busier. The neighborhood is young right now, has a lot of children, so they'd like us to go up there, take another look at it. You know, some of these four-way stops too, I don't know, I suppose you don't want to keep going around the city putting them up and taking them down, but, you know, as neighborhoods change, that could happen. You know, we could have a four-way stop where it's necessary and then review them every 10 years, and if they're not necessary, then they can come down. But this is an intersection now that needs to take another look at because of all the children in the neighborhood, and it's just a cut through. On this particular neighborhood, there's no reason to cut through there unless you live there. People are just going from Westford to Princeton Boulevard to beat the lights, so appreciate it.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's no objection by the maker of the motion, could we also add in the intersection of Foster Street and Princeton Boulevard? There's Foster Street. There's been several accidents there in the past several months. I think there was one just last week. And there are stop signs on Foster Street, but not on Princeton. But I think that it's a combination of probably people traveling too quickly on Princeton Boulevard. and maybe not adhering to the stop sign on Foster Street. But that's a lot of accidents in a short period of time.
Okay, thank you. Next, by Councilor Leahy, request Mayor invite Robert Merrill to the council chambers to present to him a citation honoring him his recent life-saving effort. Need a second?
Second.
Councilor Elliott? Councilor
Thank you.
Leahy?
Motion basically speaks for itself, but was an article in today's Lowell Sun congratulating and telling the story about Robert Merrill, Lowell resident, has run for city council a few times, and I think it was the chief of police from Salem, I can't find it here, but he did say that, you know, without his assistance, this person may not have made it. So he happened to be in the right place at the right time, and it'd be nice if we had him in and gave him a
Took the right
citation.
action. Thank you, okay, we'll do that. Well, announcements. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to wish luck to the Lowell High School boys basketball team and the boys hockey team. They both have state tournament games this week.
Okay. Oh, yes, Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, and through you to the manager, the tour is this Thursday for?
Yes, the tour is at 9 a.m. For the council. We will meet at the location, which I think we sent out. We'll make sure everybody has that. It's for the council. It's not a
Just the
public
name
tour.
of the tour, the name of the tour is the Patriot.
Of Patriot Care. Patriot, not Patriot Care.
And no purchases can be made at the time, or just a tour?
They're not officially open until a later date. That's why we're bringing you in then,
All
Council.
right, thank you.
Is there a follow-up for a couple of, some of us have to work?
Yes, they did say if everybody can't make it, they will accommodate with another date. So if there are people who can't be there, let's talk and we'll try and set something up. But they're happy to schedule it so that everybody can be there.
Madam Manager, could you also update it on the white ribbon?
Yes, the White Ribbon Day ceremony is Thursday as well at noontime here in City Hall. Councilor Mercier is presenting the district attorney, and there is also a speaker, and I'm sorry I don't have the flyer in front of me, but it will be here to recognize White Ribbon Day at noontime downstairs in the vestibule of City Hall.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Elliott. Thank you.
I forgot.